Marilyn Hemingway is doing everything she can to protect and preserve the Gullah Geechee community along the South Carolina coast. Today, I talk one-on-one with her for this edition of Quintin's Close-Ups. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel and like Quintin's Close-Ups on Facebook. Marilyn Hemingway, welcome to the award-winning Quintin's Close-Ups.
Oh, thank you. It's good to be here, Quint.
I appreciate it greatly.
Thank you.
Thank
you for inviting me.
You're welcome. You're like an icon in this area.
No, I'm not. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. But thank you for the compliment.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Obviously, you are the CEO and president of the Gullah Geechee Chamber of Commerce, and of course, you have your own consulting business as well. And you do so many great things here along the Gullah Geechee corridor and beyond. Who is Marilyn Hemingway these days?
Gosh, I'm a lot of things these days, but I'm enjoying it. First, I'm a happy person who's enjoying it. A little burnt out, so I'll be going on vacation, but
you need it.
That's who Marilyn is these days. What I do is something different, but I enjoy it. As long as I am enjoying what I'm doing, I'm good. So right now, I still am CEO, president, and founder of the Gullah Geechee Chamber of Commerce, but that was in 2018.
Yes.
In 2020, I founded the Gullah Geechee Chamber Foundation, the Gullah Geechee Leadership Institute.
Wow.
And this year, in 2021, I'm starting 2 new businesses.
Wow.
On top of, because there's so much opportunity going on in front of us here in Charleston, along the entire corridor, along the entire coast, my hometown of Georgetown, that I just want to be a part of it. So that's what I'm doing, and that's who I am. I'm just someone right now who's really enjoying where she is right now in my life, in this point in my life.
You talked earlier about 2018. What is the biggest difference between 2018 and right now when you think of all of these Gullah Geechee opportunities that you're trying to create?
Well, it's not just me. I want to make sure that's clear. That's creating a lot of stuff. I just have my lane, and I made a decision that my lane was going to be economic uplift, justice, and opportunities. And the difference now is I think more people are aware that for the Gullah Geechee, the African Americans, descendants of enslaved Africans, the African Americans, we have a unique opportunity right now to collaborate together to create economic uplift. And it's because of the work of others in the last 20 years, 30, 40 years, that we now have opportunities, more so in the private sector, because of what was done in the government sector, in the public sector, if you will. And I think it's kind of wide open a little bit. So the difference is from 2018, I think more and more people are recognizing that we no longer need to operate in our individual silos. We need to collaborate to create economic uplift.
Wow. And I'm going to get to that in just a second. I know the Gullah Geechee Chamber of Commerce is dedicated to creating global awareness of profitability and sustainability of African American businesses and entities that support the Gullah Geechee community. What is the state of the Gullah Geechee community?
Oh, that's a good question. What is the state of the Gullah Geechee community? Evolutionary. And what do I mean by that? Well, we've always been an evolutionary culture and community because we had to evolve from the worst of circumstances and create a whole new language to communicate with each other because our ancestors were torn from their homeland, their tribes, and put in ships, and they had to figure out how we're going to communicate with each other. But still, it was embedded in their culture and traditions of how we cook, what we cook, and how we worship. And that's evolutionary. So that's where we are right now. We are still evolving, recognizing who we are and what our ancestors left for us. So that's a beautiful thing. And taking that and evolving it using technology, using collaboration, using partnerships to create sustainable economic uplift for our community. So I would use the word evolutionary is where we are right now. We're evolving.
Who are you?
I'm Marilyn Hemingway. That's who I am.
The Gullah Geechee community. Who are you all?
Well, the easy answer is the descendants of enslaved Africans and African Americans. And I specifically say enslaved because we were not slaves. That's a term that's been used, but that's changing too.
Sure.
Our ancestors were enslaved because that forces you then to see the humanity of the people who built this area.
Right.
Because they were brought here to the islands, the Caribbean islands, to North America and South America because of their knowledge of how to control the water and manage the land to grow the sugar, indigo, rice, cotton, tobacco, and so on. This is foundational for the United States, for the economy. So who are we? We are a strong people who have maybe been disconnected from who we are, but we are now reconnecting to that strength and recognizing, even in the peculiar institution of slavery, we made a way out of nowhere. And once we get that and understand that evolution,
right,
that informs what we do moving forward. So people need to understand we are strong people. We are a people with imagination. We are a people with possibilities. Everything else will be taken care of if we recognize that and then put it to work.
2 questions. When did the disconnect happen?
Over time, I think you can. The disconnect also happened because our ancestors were enslaved and taken to separate plantations and families were broken up. That created a disconnect. Because even within the Gullah community, the Gullah language, you could go to different communities and hear a different dialect.
Right.
It's still Gullah, but it's a different dialect. So I can go to Beaufort and understand certain words, but then they're going to also have certain words that I don't understand. So that's just a natural disconnect. But I think, and then plus the peculiar institution of slavery was about disconnecting people from family, from your heritage, from the motherland, if you will. So that was inherently a system that created disconnection. After the Civil War, we were disconnected further because Northern abolitionists, educators, and not just Northern abolitionists, educators, whether they're black and white, didn't understand the Gullah language. They thought that's bad English. So we're going to teach it out of you. So that started a systemic disconnect from this beautiful evolutionary culture that was created because they just simply didn't understand it. And if you don't understand it, you don't see it. So that became a more targeted disconnect. And then that became generational. And you can see it with me. I tell people, I am not fluent in Gullah. I am Gullah. Because Gullah is more than a language.
Right.
But I am not fluent in Gullah. But I can understand it. I can hear it. And actually, when I get around family and friends, that code switching kicks in. You can hear it more.
Yes.
You know? But I could go to Beaufort and I have to have that ear to listen because they say it a little bit differently from me, who's from Georgetown, Charleston, from Horry.
Yes.
From Georgia, North Carolina, and so on and so on. So, really though, but after the Civil War, it really became more of a systemic disconnect because I think that's where the root of feeling ashamed about it was kind of drilled into us because of education. Oh, that's bad English. You're uneducated. We weren't uneducated. We were very educated. We created a whole new language, a whole new culture. That speaks of intelligence, but the systemic disconnect started happening then, and then it was generational. And I actually tell people to understand it better because we hear it more. Think of what they did to the Native Americans when they were put in schools and taught. Basically, they were taught white is better. Speak English. Your native tongues are wrong. Speak English. We simply have no. It was educated out of us. But there was always that core group, that those who, before the bridges were built,
Right.
who were able to retain that culture more, that core culture that I think saved us all. And now people are coming back home and relearning the language, reconnecting to the land, to the water.
Oh, yes.
And so now I think it's now starting to turn back to where we're reconnecting to who we are, our roots.
What do you have your ear to right now, Marilyn, when it comes to the Gullah Geechee communities?
Tourism, ownership, recognizing our connections, and more people recognizing all of that. So that's what I'm hearing more and more. As a matter of fact, I have a meeting later today where there's going to be it's going to be further pushed along. But yeah, that's what I'm hearing today. That more people pride in who we are, pride in the culture, pride in the language. It's going to take some time, but once again, as I said, we're evolutionary. I think people need to really understand this is an evolutionary process. It's not. I hear people say, "Oh, it's going away. It's ending. We're losing it." We're not losing it. We're just evolving. And when you're evolutionary, you actually create new words and stuff. So I love the young people, because when you see we impact music, we impact language. So when I see young people come up with these new terms, slang, if you will, I see and hear the Gullah influence, because we are that foundational culture that spread across the United States.
Wow. What are those possibilities that you're imagining right now for the Gullah Geechee community?
So what I'm doing through the Gullah Geechee Chamber, I'll give an example, is we recently received a grant for $283,000 to establish the Gullah Geechee Seafood Trail.
Oh, yes.
And in the Seafood Trail, we have collaborative partners, Gullah Geechee Nation,
Yes.
Gullah Geechee Fishing Association, South Carolina African American Heritage Commission,
Oh, yes.
Coastal Carolina University, South Carolina Sea Grant Consortium, Gullah Preservation Society, and more. Beaufort County Black Chamber of Commerce, and more stakeholders.
Sure.
We came together, and we're the lead organization on this grant, and that's going to allow us to invest in our community.
Sure.
We're going to preserve the Gullah Geechee maritime heritage, our connection to the water, and then we're going to create a website that promotes anything connected to the water. So if you're an artist, a restaurant, any type of business connected to the water, and there are a lot of businesses connected to the water, we're going to preserve your story, and then we're going to promote you globally, because that goes back to my mission that I created, raising global awareness. So that's opportunity. That's what I see amongst just being a chamber that provides educational courses, business education courses. There are a lot of us who work under the table, if you will, but we're not about telling people you shouldn't be in business. We're about being a resource, so people can say, either I'm going to be a hobby and do what I do, make a little money on the side, or I'm going to be a business and I'm going to take it to another level. And we're going to provide the resources for them to make those good decisions, so it benefits the community as a whole.
This is a question I should have asked towards the end of this interview. I'm sorry about the knots.
No problem. Hey, we live in South Carolina.
Right. Well, how, Marilyn, will you preserve the story of the Gullah Geechee community 5-10 years from now?
Technology. Digital archives. That's one of the reasons the partners we're working with. But the plan, and I'm just using the Gullah Geechee Seafood Trail as one example. We have other programs also. But I will be going into the communities. We have other folks who will be going into the communities. Interns, if you're interested, reach out to us, go to the website, contact us. We'll be going into the community, recording the stories that people want to be recorded. We're not going to force people to tell anything. Tell what you want to tell, but keep in mind this is for prosperity. Then we'll use technology to preserve them, and then people will have access to these stories.
Absolutely. And I know, obviously, you want to create sustainable economic opportunities for African American businesses.
Correct. Yeah.
And businesses inclusive of all, regardless of race, ethnicity, sexual orientation, national origin, with the Gullah Geechee community. How many African American communities are there within the Gullah Geechee community?
A lot, but I'm going. Well, that's actually a good question, because when I started the chamber, that's one of the things we need answered, and I knew that. And going out meeting folks, I quickly realized not only did I know it, it was being proven that I knew it, because it goes back. They're legitimate businesses.
Sure.
Then there are a whole bunch of businesses. I shouldn't. They're all businesses, but based on the system that we work in, our justice system, our legal system, a lot of them are not legal, and I'm just being frank about that. So they're generating money in the communities, but they're not legal. They're not an LLC with the Secretary of State. They don't have the proper licenses with the cities or counties, and that's for historical reasons and what lack of trust in government, etc. So our goal is to make them legal, and then start a count. Really say how many African American businesses are there. I mean, you're a business, Aunt Mabel on the block who sold candy on the porch is a business. And she may not want to be an LLC, but she's a business because she's generating economic uplift. Or the oyster harvester that may have the oyster roast on the weekends and charge people, but they don't want to deal with licenses and stuff. You're a business, and you need to become legal because it creates economic uplift in our community when you're legal, because then it gives you the opportunity to build relationships with financial institutions, with the legal entities that you can grow to the next level. Then you start creating jobs, and you can hire other people. And that's the key to economic uplift, creating our own jobs, careers, and businesses. That's why ownership is so important.
And obviously, I know that you are proactively want to respect and protect the natural environment.
Yes.
Is there any progress to protect the biodiversity areas right now?
Yes, there is. There's a lot of I don't know if I would say progress, but there's a lot of work being done. So that creates progress. One of the things that we're doing, the Gullah Geechee Chambers, we received a grant to restart the Gullah Geechee Environmental and Energy Conference, which will be happening Saturday, October 16th, in a hybrid format.
Yes, ma'am.
So in person, it's going to be at Royal Missionary Baptist Church. Virtually, it'll be virtual, and we'll be opening registration in about 2 weeks for that. Now, it might go all virtual. I do have to say that because COVID is raging out of control, so we're prepared to go all virtual. But with that being said, the biodiversity, there are so many people addressing problems locally. I think of the Maryville community in West Ashley, that the residents came together and they're restoring the wetlands there. That's huge.
Right.
I'm so excited about that. That's so huge because it's the people who recognize the problems and the people who work to solve the problem, and they reached out and created partnerships to solve that. You have the folks who are the Friends of Gaston Creek, who are working to hopefully save that, and the chamber is an entity through our environmental and energy conferences, conversations, and roundtables. We're creating partnerships with environmental groups to be a resource, and also recognize the culture and community as a resource. Because don't forget, historically, our knowledge of controlling the water and managing the land is environmentalism. That's embedded in that. So there's progress in that more local communities are taking control of their narrative when it comes to the environment, but there's still a lot more work to be done.
What has been the narrative when it comes to the natural environment?
Lack of knowledge, and that leads to neglect. But with that being said, historically, the Gullah Geechee, we've always reduced, reused, and recycled because we were forced to. As enslaved persons, our ancestors were not given first choice. They were given the leftovers. Or you took what you knew from Africa, West Africa in particular, and you brought your seeds and things with you, and that was a blessing. And you planted those in the woods, and you created your own gardens.
Yes.
And then you took what was in the woods. For example, spider webs were used for wounds. And now technology, they're trying to figure out how to recreate spider webs as a bandage, you know. Well, we knew that because we were the doctors, you know, holistically, organically, we were the medicine people, you know, the root doctors, etc. That's environmental, because you have to have a healthy environment to be a healthy person. So you're going to maintain what keeps you healthy, right? So we've always been environmentalists, but I think the disconnect is because of modern technology. We live in a capitalistic society that it's about instant gratification. It's about the next best thing, that we've been disconnected from that. But I think that too is coming around full circle, but we have a long way to go, and we really do. And when I say coming around full circle, recognizing who we are, and grasping that and running with it, because it's a beautiful thing. We've always reduced, reuse, recycle. That's why we barbecue the whole hog. You can't waste anything.
No, you can't.
That's environmentalism. You know? Yeah, I mean, we've always been environmentalists. We just never used the terminology. And I tell my environmental groups that. I tell them, don't come speak at us. Come speak with us. Because we just simply don't know your terminology, but we know environmentalism.
Sure.
We know when the water's dirty.
That's right.
And unhealthy.
That's right.
We know what we breathe is making us sick. And many times we don't have control over that, because we're not the ones that own the plants that are being put in our communities that pollute the water and the air.
What are you trying to take a hold of as far as control right now?
What do you mean by that? What
Natural environment.
Knowledge, sharing knowledge. That's what I'm trying to, from the Gullah Geechee Chamber of Commerce family of organizations, that's what I'm trying to take, sharing knowledge, facilitating resources back and forth. And that's why I started the programming that I do, the conferences. It really is just bringing folks to the table and looking towards the future. Electric vehicles. I'm part of a group working on that in the state government, and we look at how do we get it into rural areas, like charging stations. And for me, from the economic point of view, it's not just putting a charging station in a community, it's who's going to own that charging station. Because that's economic uplift.
Okay.
You know, so you got to connect all those dots. So for me, I'm taking ownership of the economic and the environmental justice working together to create economic uplift while we save our environment.
And I want to get back to that in our next interview, but let me ask you about the Chamber of Commerce. And what way are you serving as a conduit to direct member and business employees to the opportunities, information, and resources in your region?
Oh, good question. I just had a phone call, and I have to. Someone contacted me over Facebook, and she has a group coming down to Charleston this weekend, and they want to know where the Gullah guides, you know. So I'll share that information with them. I get phone calls like about weddings. People, especially after George Floyd, it's a lot of movement. But I think I kind of caught the wave, because you never think of tragedy, right? I just saw opportunity, and I wanted to have economic uplift personally and for my community. And so the chamber was my conduit to do that. And it just so happens, I think it put me in front of the wave of more awareness that came out of the murder of George Floyd, that tragedy. And more people are consciously and intentionally about buying black. So I get a lot of phone calls where folks are, I want to spend my money with black businesses. And I can direct them to those businesses. That's why you need to join the chamber. Because, I mean, I get, and then indirectly and directly. Directly is what I got. Where are the black guides in Charleston? Can you send me some information? And yes, I'll be sending that information. And or where are wedding venues? Sure. Where are caterers, etc. Right. Where are the restaurants? Right. That type of thing. Lawyers. Where are the black lawyers? So I send people and to these different resources. And then indirectly, I get phone calls. Like Chinese media called me a few months ago, and I wasn't able to help them at that time because we still have to grow our infrastructure. And you can ask me a question about that too. I'll answer it later. But I get NBC University, other cable companies, etc., are contacting me wanting to know more about Gullah Geechee, and I facilitate that information. So indirectly, it also benefits businesses because now it's exposure. Oh yes,
absolutely. I just have 2 more minutes because I got to run and take Pet of the Week at Pet
No problem.
But let me ask you this: how do you develop a cohesive brand identity to leverage chamber programs and initiative reach?
Wow, you got good questions. I walked into a brand, I didn't consciously think of it, and people tell me you have a brand, Marilyn. The brand is community uplift.
Yes.
And that takes, Marilyn has CEO, and Marilyn has an individual sticking my neck out, taking risk. And I've never looked back. It was a risk for me. I left a full-time job that, you know, insurance, retirement, everything. But I knew, I just was moved to take this risk. And every once in a while I go like, wow, you know, what's happening is like really cool. So to grow a brand, you have to know yourself. And you have to put yourself on a healthy journey.
Sure.
And I say a healthy journey because it's kind of like this.
Oh, yes.
But the goal is, even in the life ebbs and flows of life, you want to keep moving forward and progress and grow. And I think personally I'm on that level, and it reflects itself through the growth of my organizations and businesses. So if anybody wants to do a brand, it's first know thyself.
Yes.
And then take the risk and be consistent.
Sure.
And just keep doing it. And it's not going to go right every minute. It's not going to go right every day. Right. But eventually what's going to happen, it's going to go right more often than it's going to go wrong. And when you take that risk, I mean, that's a huge investment in yourself, and you don't look back. Just keep moving.
Keep moving. How do you anticipate the needs to ensure the highest value for all of your members?
I talk to people.
Okay.
I'm constantly changing. I have to go to my website now and update it and tweak some stuff. Just talking to folks. That's why, like the environmental conversations we have, it literally is a conversation within the community. And COVID has kind of dampened a lot of stuff.
True.
So those are things I'm going to be restarting also, probably virtually right now until we get this COVID under control, really under control. But just talking to people, that gives me market research organically, and I adjust based on the needs and read a lot. I read constantly because it informs me. It gives me knowledge. And from there I make decisions. And I'm involved with a lot of stuff too. More probably than I should be. But I'm going to take a vacation, so hopefully that'll help out. Yeah.
And lastly, how can you be genuine and creative in your social pressure?
Wow, what do you mean by that?
How do you get creative about being with that pressure without being assertive, aggressive? How could you be?
Well, I am assertive. I think you have to be very comfortable with yourself.
Okay.
And that gains, the more you trip and fall and pick yourself up, the more you overcome your fear, the more confidence you will gain. And then own who you are. That's why I said I am assertive.
Right.
Because being in the South, Southern, especially women, we're taught, and as a black woman, we're taught to nurture everyone, which takes a certain amount of assertiveness, but it also is contradictory because we're also taught to be, be submissive, don't be loud, etc. Well, be who you are. Be who you are. And once you figure out who you are and that constant journey that we are all on until we finally close our eyes for the last time, it's all over about the shouting. And I had to personally, to do what I'm doing now,
Right.
I personally had to grow and overcome doubts. And I do that every single day. But I had to put the work in to put myself on my path.
Right.
That allowed me to do what I do with the chamber and take that risk. And every day I grow even more. And it's so enjoyable. I mean, I enjoy being here. I speak at city council meetings.
Yes.
I get people mad at me.
Oh.
But it took me growing to do that,
Sure.
and had a conversation with a friend last night, because I take a risk every time I speak out, because let's be honest, we live in the South, there's racism, there's sexism, and I do get pushback and blowback, because it makes people uncomfortable, especially when black people own their own story and do without fear of consequences. That changes my world, your world, when I say your world. But when you change your world, you change the world. You really do. And when you get to that point, it's all over but the shop.
Sure. I want to get you back on Quintin's close-ups in the fall, because we have so much to talk about. I want to talk to you about gentrification and how it's affecting the city of Georgetown and more. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the coast, the continuing low country, Grand Strand, the whole coast. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But now, you obviously, you're getting to know yourself, and you're tackling a whole lot of issues for the Gullah Geechee community. How should they hold you accountable?
Call me up. Speak to me. Tell me when I'm wrong. I mean, I listen. I do. If you're not satisfied with your membership, then speak to me. And if you're still not satisfied, end your membership. I mean, yeah, I'm prepared for those consequences. I may not like them, but I try to do the work so that people are not satisfied. But if you are not satisfied with me, if you're not happy with me, email me, call me up, text me. My number's out there, and my email's out there, or catch me on Facebook. I'm out there. Twitter, I'm out there, and I do get pushback. And I have a small core group of people that I really deal with, because for different reasons I have to keep it small. One is for security. I have a file at the police department because of people who are unhappy with things I've said and done. So, I've had threats. But that's what happens when you stick your neck out.
For sure.
So I take precautions. And then I also listen to the positive criticism too. I really do. But I've also, part of my journey, Quintin, and you've probably heard this from other folks, I say no to a lot of people. I have gained the strength to remove negative energy, because I've had people, there's a difference between constructive criticism and trying to steal my spirit. And when you grow within yourself and know who you are, you will recognize negative spirit. Energy is a real thing. And I think Gullah Geechee people, I think that's an ancestral thing. When we say we listen to the ancestors are speaking to us, that's energy. And the energy you put out is the energy you're going to attract. But negative people like to come around too. Negative energy is always trying to come in. And when you recognize that, you learn to push it away. But yeah, people will talk to me, just talk to me. Communication. Text me, call me, etc.
That's amazing.
And then my discernment, hopefully I'll make the right decision.
There you go. Well, this was fun. Like I said, I'm running behind. I got to go.
I know.
But we'll come back in the fall and we'll continue the conversation, and we'll talk. We'll have more to talk about. Like I said, gentrification and everything. So
there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
A lot going on, but there's opportunity, and that's the thing we need to let people know. There's always opportunity. We just got to see it. I had to be in place to make my impact, and I give credit to. I took a class at College of Charleston. Stuart Williams. Do you know Stuart?
Probably by face.
Okay, one of my, I would say mentors.
Okay.
Really, and I suffer from depression. So there are two things I did. I've had therapy off and on for years since college. I was depressed at the time, and I recognized I was old enough. I recognized the symptoms and stuff. So I went in therapy to get my head back together and my heart back together and get on a healthy journey. But I also took a class in place impact at the College of Charleston for the business side of it.
Yes.
And that's what really helped me filter to the Gullah Geechee Chamber of Commerce, and I haven't looked back. So I have much appreciation for the College of Charleston, for Stuart Williams. He wasn't the only one, but a big part.
That's amazing. Well, Marilyn Hemingway, thank you so much for your time. And again, welcome to the award-winning Quintin's Close-Ups.
I know, congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm so happy for you.
Oh, I appreciate it greatly.
I remember when you started.
Yes, 2012.
Yeah. I was in Charleston working.
Yes.
And, first time we've met in person,
Right.
but we've been in touch over the internet, virtual. So
That's right.
this is cool.
Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you, Quintin. I really appreciate it.
Anytime.
All right, very good.
Yeah.